Hello, it is about 10 o'clock on a morning. That is either a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, because that's when I stream. So it must be one of those days, or I'm streaming on the wrong day. No, it is. It's Friday morning. I am oriented to time still, sort of. And it's Friday morning at about 10 o'clock. And this is Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. And I don't know, there's been, I know the whole country, the U.S. anyway, has been hit by one wave after the other of these storm fronts, and most of it, fortunately for us, but not so much for everybody who's been hit with it, most of it's been to the south of us, so that the parts of the country that have been getting a foot of snow are not the ones up here in the Great White North, where you usually have that. But the pressure changes, that science says, well, it might not be real. It might not be real that the pressure changes cause achiness, but my joints and muscles say, yeah, the pressure changes cause achiness. So there, take that science. Well, I mean, I usually think science is right, but why is that still up there? I don't know if you can see that or not there. I don't know if you saw those red lines or not, but I was changing the text before the stream to talk about what I'm probably going to be painting today when I get around to actually doing some painting. Science is uncertain as to whether the few studies that they have done, and you don't get tenure at most major universities by finding out whether or not joints get achy when the pressure changes. So not a lot of studies have been done on that, but just really achy today. So if I go or sometimes I make those sounds because something messes up with the painting, or there's gluing or whatever I'm doing, and sometimes it's just achy. This is the Orc. I'd like to have this over a little further, maybe down a little bit. If I had a camera and a camera person and a director, it would be like, move the camera to the right, focus in on the Orc. But I just got this ring camera, so I just grab it and move it around, and that's the production level of this stream. This is the Orc I'm working on. It's pretty close to being done, but it's going to take surprisingly long to finish it because of this, the head of the mace. The main thing that I need to do on the rest of it is get out the green color from its orc skin. Take these off. Yeah. I can't see close up with those glasses. Touching up the orc skin, there's spots on an elbow and another on the hand, and the face needs some cleaning up. It doesn't look too bad without the head magnifier, but with it looks like it's not very good. So I need to do that. And then I'm going to wash the shirt and the orc skin and the hair and the wooden thing here. But there's 4 or 5 different, just this little bit up here, there's going to be 5 different colors. 4 colors and a wash, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 colors plus a wash. So then they have to dry mostly in between. And so it's just going to take a while, especially since a lot of it's tiny. So what will happen is that the binding here is going to be leather. So I've got leather brown. When that's painted on, it doesn't look like leather. It looks like leather after it's washed with an umbra wash. And then there's a dragon claw holding the orb. And I'm going to paint that kind of a dark glossy green. Okay, if I can find it. But the nails are going to be probably, some buff maybe. I'll have to pick a color. This is not a bad color for the claw nails. I want them to be lighter. I was thinking maybe gray, but they'd have to be really light gray. I could do that. Green with light gray, and then the orb itself, I was going to paint kind of a pearlescent blue, but our DM wants it to be painted black. So I'm going to paint it flat black and then put a pearlescent black over it. And then I'll have to touch up the claws, and there'll just be a lot of back and forth before that'll get done. So maybe what I'll do is I might start working on the gnome. This is a gnome cleric, for some reason carrying a fireball. I might start working on the gnome while these different colors of paint dry, because it's just going to they have to dry in between. And then there's a brown wash on the hair and fire, smoky ink on the thing here, and green there and blue there. And then just a whole lot of dinking around with this before it's done. So yeah, I'll probably start working on the gnome, just so that I'm not just sitting around. I'm sitting anyway, at least I got that. I've got a seat. So I'm not just sitting around waiting for paint to dry. I'm putting on other paint that will then need to dry. I'm just kneading this. I'm kneading it because I need it. So that it's actually kind of sticky. I have to be careful doing that. That I have pressed down on this too hard once and snapped the base. And I think one other time I broke the figure itself. And this is a pretty fancy one. It's going to be kind of tones of vermilion and pink, I think. And she's got red hair. I wonder if I can do that. I've got some of these speed paints up here. I've hardly ever used these. But they might work on her hair. The danger, though, is that I can't paint over the speed paints, because they're the kind that dissolves in paint over it. I discovered that the hard way. There's another variety of speed paints made even by the same manufacturer that are they're color fast. They don't dissolve in an overcoat of another paint. But I might experiment with that. I'm not sure, because I don't have any red wash. Well, I'll just have to play around with different colors. I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to start painting an orb first. Then I've got some work to do on the Savoia. It's not a lot, but if I get it done, then I can assemble. Remember this? It's been a while. I can finally assemble this a week after I was planning to assemble it. Actually, more than that if I don't get around to it today. Well, okay, I'm going to start with this, with the binding, and I'm going to paint the orb after I paint the rest of these. Find the green. Like green, dark green. Is it dark green that I want? I started pulling out paints and I didn't put them away, so they're just piling up here now. Yeah, dark green. Great. Yeah, I'm going to be spending a lot of time with the head magnifier on again because that's the only way I can see what's going on. And I'm going to be spending a lot of time with these little brushes, just the little ones, until I start doing wash, and then I'll be using a slightly larger brush. Leather brown. The leather brown, as you can see, has separated in the bottle. Okay. The pigment and the solvent have separated, so let me start shaking this up. This usually takes a good long time. On Wednesday, there were two topics. One was I couldn't get the chat screen to work. It is working today. So hopefully people will join in, like the folks who tried on Wednesday, and I wasn't able to converse with them because I couldn't see what they were writing in chat, because all I had was the tiny little print that nobody, well, maybe some people can read because their eyes are better. So I talked about the chat screen not working and my excuses for why that was. And I also talked about coal burning furnaces and how much work that was for my grandfather, who kept that going every year, all winter long, from fall until spring. Yeah, it was almost like magic, the way he was able to do that. I'm going to be using a lot of different colors, little, I'll show you my palette. It's part of the low budget theme of this. Buy these by the dozen. They are designed primarily for like elementary school art projects, and people use them and then just throw them away, but I end up using them for like 6 months before they finally get to the point where they're unusable because paint builds up on them over time. But it's got 10 little wells, and I think it's only been a couple of streams that I've actually filled all 10 plus the middle. Gone through like 12 or 13 different colors. I don't remember under what circumstances that happened exactly, but I do remember that happening at least once. But I need to keep these on most of the time today, just so I can see what I'm doing. So this color, like I said, it's called leather brown. When we first used it years ago, we were seriously disappointed because it doesn't really look very leathery when it's applied and dried. It's just brown. But when it's washed with I think we used umber. There is a subtle difference between our umber wash and our brown wash. But then it was like, wow, that really does look like leather. So that's why these bits here, these bindings on the end of his staff, why they are going to take several coats, several applications of different colors. Okay. I think that, the claws come in contact with the leather here. And I think, I'm not sure if I can paint the nails first and then the claws. Then, the nails and then the rest of the claws. Because if I can paint the nails now, then that can dry, and then I can do the green in between them. Otherwise, it's the green, and I have to wait for that to dry, and then do that, and that. So I'm going to give that a go. Just give it an effort to, it'll speed things up a little bit if I can get the paint on either side of the green dragon toe thing. If I can get that painted at the same time. Then I'm going to, well, that's drying. I'm going to go back to the Savoia. There's one bit I need to do, which is to touch up the brass and gold on the radiator part of the very, very front of the engine housing. The other is that there was a spot that some paint spray got in, and I didn't sand it down. I got impatient, and I just left it, and I think it's going to look ugly, and so I'm going to sand it down and repaint it, and hopefully not harm anything in the process. Sometimes things get harmed in the process of fixing them. I just want a really light gray color. I think this thing called Stonewall Gray, I maybe had that out before. I was thinking of making them a really light color, but purples and blues and browns and reds. Bone white. I should look at that on the color chart and see. Let me look at I want to see bone white. I think it's kind of brownish, though. Hi. Thanks for coming back and joining. How are you doing today? I appreciate you joining in on chat. Chat on Wednesday wasn't working. There were tons of updates, and then it got all screwed up. And I couldn't see the chat screen because I have a special senior large print chat screen that I can look over to the side. If I look that way, I'm looking at chat. As I continue to work on the Orc the orb on this staff is just going to take a while because there's just a little detail on it. There's bindings, there's dragon claws, there's nails on the dragon claws and the orbs itself, and all taking all different colors, and they're next to each other and they need to dry before the next one goes on. So in this case, I'm going to, this is not the way I usually like to paint these things. I like to paint the upper surface and then paint up to it. But the little claw part, the finger part of the dragon that's going to be painted dark green is between the leather binding and the nails, and I'm thinking if I paint that and that, they'll both dry, and then I'll be able to move along more quickly in the long run. But the downside is that I just might end up getting the dark green in places where I don't want it, And then I'll have to come back and do more touch-up than I was planning. So I don't have to be particularly careful with this because the dragon toe part, the green part, gets painted over anything that's slopped on. And the orb is going to be painted black, so that will cover up any problems. So, I mean, I'm not going to go out of my way to be sloppy about it, but it's not like I'm painting a final coat of the edges of these claw nails. Yeah, well, I'm going to probably have to do some touching up of this color later. I can see right now, with the way the print is designed, that when I paint the green, I'm going to get it onto the nail. Not intentionally, it's just that it's just going to happen because of my limitations of painting skill. I'm painting these light gray. The orb is going to be, I was thinking of painting them like a buff or a ivory or something, but I think they're dragon claws, so I think that would be better. Black would be good, but the orb is going to be black, so this lighter color will show up against the black orb. I'm going to let that dry, and then I could, since I'm at it, why not? I'll just keep on this before I go to the Savoia. I have a fair amount of touching up to do with the green color. I bumped into an elbow and a hand. There's some splotches, technical term, splotches of paint on the arms from the shirt, and I need to touch those up. And then there's the face. You can't really see it, but the face is a mess. The fangs and the right eye, under the magnification, the flaws are very, very obvious. I'm going to start with the face because that's the most difficult part for me. It's tiny little bits. I don't need much of this. Yeah, it's still not completely stirred. You probably can't see it, but it's streaky. Okay, the pigment and the solvent aren't well mixed, so I'll mix them in the palette here using a sophisticated mixing tool, the toothpick. I'll just remind everybody this is not a how-to show, because I am not a master modeler or a painter, but if you're like just starting out, you got a really low budget, you don't mind hearing from somebody who's learned through trial and error, about how to do things sometimes on the cheap. That went okay. Let's see if I can get the eyeball here. the biggest difficulty I have doing this is that touching up like this, the paint on the brush is the same color as the paint on the surface I'm touching up, and it's really difficult for me to see where the tip of the brush is, especially with this tiny brush. Basically it's like it's pretty much just 3 little bristles. Sorry, I went quiet there as I was trying to reassign the line. I'm just rotating it to see. There's the elbow spot. Oh yeah, and there's some on the hand. I don't know how I managed to get blue paint on the finger down here, but I did. Way down underneath there. The main cause of oopses for me is bringing the brush up to or away from the work surface. And I'm very, very, tiny little bits and careful painting, and then I take the brush away, or I'm bringing the brush up to, and I'm not careful and bump into it. And sometimes I think I'm done with the model, a minifig model, and then I getting ready just to set it aside, and I look, and like right on the knee or something, there's a big splotch of the wrong color paint. Yeah, that came out okay. I'm just looking around to make sure I haven't missed any other spots where I have splotched. It seems to be my word du jour, splotched, blotted. All those synonyms for things where paint has gone where it shouldn't have. I think there's more down here on this finger. Yeah, I think there was an elbow, there was a shirt issue, fingers, and the face. It's now acceptable, even under 2 times magnification. Hi, I'm on. You're absolutely right. I'm glad that I'm not the only one who knows that it does. It teleports. I have just, especially onto my left hand, it happened just this last week. I was painting a metallic silvery kind of color on a Savoia piece, and 2 weeks ago, yeah, and just one of my fingers on the left hand was just like covered in it, and it wasn't anywhere near the brush, and it wasn't really anywhere near the surface I was painting. But it was just, it just jumps. It jumped off of wherever it was, this thing here, and the brush and the surface I was painting, and got on my hand. And worse yet, when that happens, and this has happened with some frequency, Ah, cool. You got the group going. That's really good news. Yeah, so worse yet, when it jumps on and teleports, like Aman said, it is like a teleport. I call it jumping, but it's, more sophisticated than that. It got on my finger, and then my finger touched an already painted area, and that actually was the cause of a good deal of problems later on. But that's happened sometimes. I'll just look up and it's like paint on my finger. I hope I didn't touch anything, and it's, oh, yes, I did. Ah, okay. So the new players were kind of observing and learning. I keep forgetting that. These holders have pretty strong magnets on the bottom, and I was setting this one aside, and it passed over the top of this one and grabbed it. I have broken several models by just getting them too close together. I mean, you can see that happen. See, magnets are magic, right? Yeah, I set one down next to the other one. The other one went flying, hit a hard surface, things broke. Ah, okay. So you can listen in but not disrupt it. So it is like watching a training session. Did you have like a Q&A after? You said you had a meeting afterward. I'm getting out Savoia parts. Well, this guy is drying. I'm going to see if I can't get this done. These are parts of the engine housing. It's not too bad. It's like right here. There's a roughness in a place where it can be pretty easily seen. I'm going to okay, so that's going to be Arachne's roll. That makes sense. I'm going to give it some sanding and then touch it up again. Whenever I do this, there's a little risk because it's like, oh, it's okay the way it is, but not quite right. And then just a little too much of something, and then it's not okay anymore. This roughness was caused through a long series of unfortunate events, which eventually resulted in the tape that was covering it before I spray painted it red coming somewhat loose, and the paint oversprayed onto the part underneath, and it didn't go on evenly. It just sort of dripped in, creating a roughness that is not the way the metal should be. And I should have sanded that off before I repainted it, but I didn't. So that will be your role, not only in the game, but also the way the game is played. I see. And she does have skills and powers. Right. Because that would fit with like the strings that she's able to use, and also the minions that she'll be able to call. Well, this is going to take a little longer than I thought. I learned my lesson the hard way with the crowd control thing. I think your group is going to find that to be an immensely powerful and helpful skill. maybe not most exciting for you. That's a concentration spell, isn't it? Oh, wow. Yeah, only 3, 8. The toy box will be fun. But if I recall, the strings are a concentration. Is that the case? Like if you're controlling a character with your strings, you can't really do anything else. Is that correct? Ah, okay. I think I'm going to use a slightly coarser sandpaper initially and then maybe polish it a little later. This is going very slowly, but I don't want to make the mistake I made before. I made a horrible mistake and used a solvent and ended up creating a mess beyond belief. Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you're controlling another character, you shouldn't be able to do something else at the same time. Okay, this is working. This is working better. After I'm done sanding this, I'll be touching it up with extremely carefully touching it up with this metallic paint. Ah, okay, can move but can't initiate like another spell. At least the movement's important because you might have to take cover. I mean, not like taking cover so that it prohibits you from casting the spell, but dodging something. I guess maybe that's a better way to put it. Okay. Yep. So those of you who play these games, usually you know that that movement and action are two different things, and you can do both usually. Sometimes you can use an action to take additional movement, but there's a But things like spell casting or attacking, things like that are an action that can be taken before or after movement. And that's what Aman is talking about there. So the spell of, if I'm understanding this correctly, the string spell is that Aman Arad. Yeah. Ah, okay. The string spell, which can be used to basically puppet, essentially puppet an adversary, takes concentration so that while it is in effect, it is a constant action. Movement isn't affected, though. So that just all really makes a lot of sense in the context of how these things work. But the puppeteering, the strings are also an offensive weapon, as I understand. They can be used to cut things because they're very sharp. I mean, they're strings, like a piano string kind of thing. You know, that if there's pressure applied to it, it will cut through. I've learned with this to use a paper towel to open and close these. Now I need to be really careful about this because I don't want to get this metallic paint on the edges. It just needs to go up to the edge. Okay, well, that is much better in that the roughness of it has disappeared. You just need to blend the paint now. So it doesn't look like there's an edge there. Okay, I'll declare this a success and put it aside so it doesn't mess up. Okay, so the strings, puppeteering is a variation of that, right? The general ability is to attach a string to an object and be able to manipulate it. If the object happens to be a character, animate, then it can be puppeteered, but it's forcing movement at a distance. That's pretty amazing. I like that. This bit here just has a ragged edge along here that I need to fix. And I need to do that under powerful magnification. Let's see how it goes. Practice. Okay. So in your meeting, you said that one of your other players was describing their character. Did you have a chance to describe yours as well? Again, just little dots of paint. Well, those ran into each other. That is all now unusable. Oh, there it is. Fairy themed. A death ray. Okay, how powerful is this death ray? Close range, not at a distance. The death ray seems like a ranged weapon, though. I'm going to be quiet for a while. This is really stupid. I just smashed. Okay. I have to be really careful doing this little bit here, so I'll probably end up being a little bit silent as I do this little touching up with infinitesimal dots of paint. So you'll have to excuse me while I do that. But after I'm done, I'll get back to chat and catch up. Well, initially at least this isn't going that well. The paint is not cooperating terribly much. It's kind of a viscous paint. It's really thick, which is okay, because then it's not running all over the place. disintegrate matter. That's a scary ability. I imagine it's going to be very useful at times, but I'm also going to guess that it's the kind of thing that's going to take a lot of energy, to prepare the spell and to cast it. So, won't be able to just sort of run around going, you're disintegrated, you're disintegrated, you're disintegrated. That kind of overpoweredness could, it would actually be kind of boring. But with reasonable limitations, that will make that a very scary and very interesting character. Okay, well, this is getting better in terms of the touching up. The issue here is this is a ridged surface, and so I can't just smoothly spread the paint. And that came out okay. It actually looks okay. I'm going to set that aside now, and the situation here is that, let me show it to you. Camera motion. Those bits are the motor housing. They house the engine for the Savoia S21, and they are now done. And I can begin to assemble them. Let me clean my highly not sophisticated equipment here. I'll show you that in just a moment. Let me clean this brush, because I don't want the paint to dry on what's left of these bristles. Okay. And I probably, I could pick this up and move it, but I'd probably mess it up. The first thing that's going to go on are these radiators that go on the side of this housing here and here. That I drew that little drawing there so I could tell which one went on which side. Okay? It makes a difference just in terms of appearance. Just take my word for it. After they are inserted, if you can see there. See the slots there? Okay. That part is going to go through the slot, and after it's attached and the cement has set, they need to be painted the same aluminum color that the rest, because those will show. And I don't want the tabs to be a different color. I could, if I were really, really good at this, After those were put in, I would fill in the gaps and sand it down so that it would just be one continuous thing. But I just can't do that. I probably could. It would take hours and hours and hours. And I'm very likely to have messed something up in the process. So I'm just going to put those in and maybe sand them lightly and then paint over them. And they're attachments, so it'll look like they were welded on. Okay. And after those are in and the paint is done, I shouldn't grab it like that. After those are attached and the paint touch-up is done, then I will install the engine, the motor in here. And after that's done, I will put on the front part that I was just touching up that goes here. And when that's done, the exhaust pipes go on the engine. So, what I could do, I'm going to let that set for a bit. There's some metallic paint in there, and I know I'll touch it and mess it up. So I'm going to let those set. Go back to this guy. Director. Move the camera back onto the orc. Thank you. Great shot. I am now going to paint the dragon toes dark green. And I'm going to do that in a way so that I don't get very much of it, if at all, on the leather binding and the nails. That's the intent. Let's see how much I succeed on that. And to the extent I fail to succeed, I will be repainting the leather binding and the toenails. This paint, these greens, as you have seen, separate significantly. This is another one of those where it's harder to see, but the darker green pigment and solvent are separated. So are the new players creating characters now? Come on. I know you said that you had a session where you were describing yours and the way you built them and everything else. So are they building their characters, and are you like helping mentor them as they do that? And then sometimes there's nothing that substitutes for good old-fashioned handshaking. Can't believe it. Sometimes I just do dumb things like that. I do those on the Dungeons and Dragons show too sometimes. Not necessarily shaking hands, but, say something and then take it literally. My character, Ulset Ralph, the Furbog fighter, has a tendency to take things quite literally. Okay. So one of your other players is going to help that player put their... And I think, will they work it through not just in terms of abilities, but also like backstory and things like that, the things that make the character interesting? Will they go into that kind of detail? The DM will do that. That's really nice of the DM to do that. But then again, if you want to play the game, you have to have players who are capable. And when you've got new ones, they have to learn. Nice. Put this back on again. The dragon claws will now come to life. Yeah. There. You have to have those kind of, physical humor, right? Bash the head magnifiers into the ring. I mean, you seem to be very talented at things like backstories and character development. So that could be a great help to a player, to help them if they haven't done that sort of thing before, to help them become their character, because that will make the gameplay a whole lot more fun. So I'm not too concerned about getting the green paint on the orb, because that's going to be painted black with a pearlescent kind of wash on it. But I don't want to get it on the gray nail. So I want to avoid, to the extent possible, avoid coming back and forth, touching up. So here I am being very careful. Being very careful probably will, yeah, and being very careful and being unable to being unable to reach the part I'm trying to paint. Yeah, especially that being a secret. That Arachne is actually a construct, in a sense. In our D&D game, it's interesting that the characters and the DM work together to reveal more and more of the backstory of our characters through the gameplay. Okay, so we have the opportunity basically to reveal, and sometimes to even learn more about ourselves as the show progresses. And it sounds like you're going to be able to do that. Yeah, I like too how she has to use her skills to fit in. I mean, that's like a real real issue for real people. Is I want to be able to make friends. This is where I probably would have been better off painting this first and then the nails. So I'm not sure that I'm going to end up saving any time in the long run, depending on how this turns out. The flesh of the claws you know, the finger part shows in the front here around the outside of the nail, and painting that so that, I don't know, probably, I mean, it definitely won't show up on camera, but I can see it under magnification. Yeah, no. I can't tell from the angle I'm using whether that's successful or not. That I'll have to wait until I'm done, and then I'll look at the nails. But I'm like 90% certain I'm going to have to get the gray back out and do some touch-up. I might as well wait on that, though, until I paint the orb. Okay, because the orb might get on the nail as well, at least in terms of the where the boundary line is. So I'm going to try not to do things more than twice. Definitely be doing things twice, but I don't want to do them more than twice. Yeah, so that combination of things. Are you going to make a miniature of your character? Or a drawing? It might be interesting. I mean, I don't know if you're an artist or not. I'm not. But to have someone who's really good at drawing actually make a picture of your character. Maybe do that for all of the players' characters. Sometimes it's really neat. It's a great thing to have visuals. You know, this is what my character looks like, and it can actually aid in the gameplay as well. So you have a visual depiction of the thing that you're describing. Just a thought. Ah, okay. Were you able to come close with the software that your game provided? I'm glad we're doing that. Then you can... Well, I find it kind of fun having a miniature of my character. And it was interesting for me to paint it. You know, what would I look like? Not I, but my character look like. Okay. Well, the green paint... It actually turned out okay. I'm sorry. I surprised myself. It's not too bad. Okay, so you got the face pretty well. Were you able to get the hair and the eyes? Well, yeah, the eyes are part of the face, duh. Okay. So this came out kind of okay. I can, once that dries, and this is going to take a while, it's kind of a weird glossy paint. It's not intended to be glossy, but it is. I want to let that dry and give this an alcohol bath. And then I'm going to, it might be kind of interesting to, you know, have the toy box at least in the umbrella. You know, if those are important aspects. Oh, okay. So you have like one of those like 300 different color situations. A lot of software nowadays just has sort of unlimited colors. I can tell you my age. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a little bit like the bag of holding. So you can keep all of your things and shrink it down and then open it up again. You know, when I started playing computer games, they were, text-based games. Okay, like Zork or Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or some of these other little games where there weren't any pictures at all. Seriously. The first video games had no videos. They were just text adventures. And you would type in what you wanted to do. Basically, it was like, it would be a direction. Could move in different directions from where you were. You always went from one room to the next or one area to the next. If an object popped up, like if an object popped up, you could like poke it or pick it up or use it if you had it in your inventory. That makes sense. That some of that you can shrink things down and then open it up, and then even some of the toys would expand or contract. They have 2 game color blacks and no model color black. What the heck? There it is. This is the flat black. So yeah, we had text adventures, and the text adventures were green. It makes sense that it would be a utility. I mean, if you can store stuff in it, you can store weapons and tools and things as well. Why not? It makes a lot of sense. So we had, monitors then were usually green. I think they were. You could sometimes get orange. It wasn't until later that we got white on black. And even later, black on white. In terms of just the text. And then color came out. I'm going to have to be really careful to keep a good inventory of the stuff in a bag. That's one of the things we find in our D&D show, is that we accumulate so much stuff that, gas bomb's great. We accumulate so much stuff that, you got a bag that holds all sorts of things because it can become smaller or larger. But the downside is that it holds a lot of things, and then you've got a lot of things being held. And you need to keep track of it. Sometimes we have extremely useful objects and we forget about them. So that there's separate, you can have 2 things on your belt. What's that? I'm going to use contact cement for this. It's just... I'm not sure. It's just some of there's paint on this, and well, you know what's in there, but trust me, it's really easy to forget what it is after you've accumulated like 10 different things. Once you've accumulated a lot of stuff, later in the game you'll find that you forgot what it is. Yeah, I know. I'm just spreading adhesive. You would think that wouldn't take a lot of concentration, but for me, everything does. I've lost track of my inventory. I mean, things, and sometimes I think I have something and I don't anymore. That's right, you have the ability to design your own items. That's really a cool thing. In our Dungeons and Dragons show, we stay, canon I'll call it, we stay within the rule book in terms of magic items that are like of use, weapons and things like that. But our DM gets kind of creative with things, like in some games you would consider them to be more cosmetic than anything. Yeah, you really want to... The things that are in the D&D system, there's a massive amount of items that have developed over the decades now, right? But our DM will make up things that are little consequence in the game but are fun. Like, I was able to buy a magic dustpan. So when you sweep something up and you sweep it into a dustpan, there's this little thin line of dust that's left over. It's like right at the edge of the pan, and it's there, and sweep and it still stays there. There's a little tiny thin line, right, of dust right at the edge of the dustpan. Well, we went to a magic store and they had a dustpan that never left a line. Yeah, exactly. That's, you keep an inventory, you get into a situation, or even before you get into a situation, you review the stuff you've got, because you really just never really know. Why is this thing that went on really easily before not going on really easily now? You can see now where the tab comes through. There's red in there now. It shows. Let's see if this one goes on. No, don't tell me that. That little bit of glue is keeping it from going into the slot. No. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm being really annoyed here. That is true. In fact, in our game, most of the time, the things that we use are not magical. You can't even begin to imagine how useful rope is. Seriously, my character uses rope a lot. There's a lot of rope. It's almost a joke. Or a crowbar or a hammer. It's really good to have. I mean, you talk about a utility belt, is to have your utility belt actually be a toolbox. Because just, seriously, the tools, ordinary tools, become really useful. I mean, obviously they're tools, right? And so no. I opened up a seam. Fortunately, it doesn't show very much. I was just not being careful. Okay, well, these radiators are on. I almost had a disaster. I almost made a really big boo-boo. I'm going to let the cement set, and then I'm going to paint those tabs on the inside. Yeah, I was able to close it. It opened up. I was putting pressure on it the wrong way, holding it the wrong way. Whoa, it was really close. It was bad. But these look okay now. Yeah, and after that sets for a bit, after I work on, I'm going to paint the orb black now. And while that's drying, I'm going to come back and paint the insides of those so that the tabs aren't red. Yeah, I can try. That is so true. That is so true. Our DM talks about that all the time, is that don't plan the session too in too much detail, because your players are going to come up with something that you didn't imagine. Okay. You need to know the rules well enough. Yeah, don't blindly agree with everything they do, but also don't be a huge stickler with the rules. Sometimes the rules are just ambiguous, and it gives the DM room for judgment. The other thing that we find, and Amin is really right on this, is the solution to puzzles or mazes or Yeah. Almost all the time in our Dungeons and Dragons show is we don't pick the obvious solutions. We just do things that are unanticipated and sometimes incredibly complicated and in the scheme of things kind of stupid. But that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun, is to offer up the problem. You don't want to make it so it can't be solved. Okay? You don't know how the players are going to solve it, but there has to be at least one or two ways of solving the problem. So when you design something like that, or a combat situation, to do that, because the creativity of the players is really important. One thing, though, when they're coming up with a solution, okay, is for the most part, you want them to role play the implementation of the solution. But sometimes our DM finds this to be the case. Sometimes it's so convoluted and obscure, that the DM can't figure out what they're trying to do. And that's a really good point. Sometimes you need to step back and do a little metagaming and just say, what is it you're trying to do? Like, I'm trying to loosen this bar from the concrete by using this liquid explosive that I found before, but I don't have a way to make a fuse for it, so I'm going to improvise a fuse. So if you try to role play all of that, sometimes it just doesn't go anywhere. But you need an explanation of it, and then the DM can then assist in letting the role play happen. I mean, you don't just implement it by saying it, by describing it, okay? But sometimes it's not at all clear what the players are trying to do. The creativity can get a little intense. Well done. Yep, that's exactly the point. Thank you. I'd say probably like 70% of the time our DM will say, you guys didn't do anything I expected, and all sorts of things that I didn't expect. I really needed to roll with it. So, and keep the dialogue going, just in terms of problem solution in the game. And you can do that while I attempt to not mess up this thing here. This black is supposed to be matte. It's supposed to dry, not glossy. We'll see. In the past it has. The other thing is, when you're doing a D&D game, you're going to design your combat. And that can actually be really difficult, because you want your combat to be intense for the players. Okay? I mean, you want it to be challenging, but you also don't want it TKP. You don't want to kill off your party. And that's actually harder than it sounds. But it has to do with the statistics, the number of adversaries and their statistics, and then the sensitivity to randomness. Okay, so like if you roll for initiative, all right, you might end up with a party like ours does sometimes, where there's just a lot of 2s and 3s on the dice. Yeah, let's start off. Yeah, and keep in mind the randomness of it. So you start out with a fight, and maybe it's just like you meet a couple of gnolls in the woods, and they're carrying a couple of copper, and you just did it for fun. Basically, you wanted the group was traveling, and you didn't want to just say time passes. You wanted to make it kind of interesting and fun. Well, the next thing you know is your players all roll 2s and 3s on their initiative. And they're already half dead before they take their first turn. And I'm speaking from actual experience here. That happened in our D&D show. As the DM just wanted us to have a little bit of interest. It was when our characters were like level 2. Okay, really not very strong. But our initiative rolls were terrible, and our attack rolls were even worse. We almost ended up being killed by these things it was supposed to be like a 3-minute fight where they would just surrender and give up whatever they were carrying. And yeah, that's really good, Aman, and especially if you're starting with new players or even experienced players playing a new character, because you don't know how they're going to interact. Okay? I mean, is your cleric, if you've got one, for example, going to take their healing rolls seriously? Or are they going to go into berserker mode and start throwing all of their life-draining spells and damaging spells out there? But yeah, we were almost killed by what was supposed to be just a silly little combat because our dice rolls were bad. And that puts the DM in a real quandary. I mean, because you're rolling dice for the NPCs attacking, and you want to be honest. Okay, you're not going to just make up dice roll numbers. So that can be really challenging. You might have to do things like your NPC is just really stupid. One of them runs away, or they hear something in the woods and they run off. You have to be really flexible that way. It sounds like you've DM'd a lot. That you're pretty experienced with not only experienced groups, but with like newbies or oldies with new characters. Thank you for helping out with the conversation. Well, this is drying mat. I think that looks okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you need to decide what to do with critical fails. Do you have any advice on that, Aman? I mean, sort of technically, when you roll a 1, the player should end up like hurting itself. But sometimes our DM will just use it as an opportunity to have something very humorous but not lethal happen. Yeah, a miss. What our DM will do is narrate the miss. Okay. You swing your mighty two-handed sword at the enemy, losing your balance, striking it hard against the side of a tree, causing the tree to vibrate. Knocking off an upper limb, the limb falls down, glances against the side. Of the sword bearer, causing 2 bludgeoning damage. I mean, that kind of thing is, if you're lucky enough to roll a 1, you should, yeah, that's really fine. Yeah, some DMs, it really depends on how you want your game to play. We're doing a D&D show. Okay, we're not doing like a one-shot. We're doing a D&D show, and we want our characters to live to fight another day. Otherwise, the show would end, and what would be the point? Why, I need just a little bit of paint right here on the edge of this dragon toe. Sorry, this is like the 6th time I'm doing this. And I can't get it. Whew, finally. Jeez, that was a pain. Well, the orb is nice and matte, which means that it will take on the pearlescent, glowing, glittery paint at the end. That's a good part of the role of the DM. Is to set up situations for the players to act in, but it's always the players who take the action, but also to narrate the activity in a way that is entertaining for everybody. The DM is like a storyteller. Well done. Yeah, so the DM is like a storyteller, but the story that they're telling is the one that the players are creating as it goes along. So a dice roll is not just a dice roll. A dice roll is a whole narrated action, including like if a player rolls a 20 and does a crit. I mean, a DM can really play that up about how, in fact, that managed, this throwing the crit with a bow. Oh no! Oh no, I ran out of memory. Well, the stream is still happening. I think the stream is still going on, but I just got a message that the computer that's running this has run out of memory. And so I am going to have to get somebody down here to do something about that. There might be some programs running in the background that I'm not aware of that are using some of the memory. I don't know. I really don't know for sure, and I don't want to mess with things that might be important to keep this thing going. So what I'm going to do, please keep the dialogue going, is I'm going to hit the take a breaks button and report this problem, and I should be back soon because I'm actually making progress today. The stream is going pretty well. I'm getting things done. You know, my guy is getting painted. My Savoia is getting assembled. So I'm going to be back in hopefully just a few minutes. Well, we don't know what happened. There was this message that showed up on the chat screen. The rest of it was working, but it showed up on the chat screen saying, not enough memory to load this page. Now, I have to say this. This is I hope everybody's still there. And it needed to get that fixed. But I think maybe it was a commentary on me. It's like, once you get to be over 70, it's like there's not enough memory to load that page. So when I'm not quite catching on to something, I'm going to use that. I think that's a really good line. Like if I can't remember a word, or I can't remember, what I was doing when I walked into the room, I could just say the error message that I just received, which is not enough memory to load that page. Apparently everything else was working okay, but sorry for the interruption. Oh, excuse me. Jeez. What I'm going to do now is paint the insides of this. See the little red tabs in there? That's where I cemented these. I know I'm going to have a disaster here for sure. I cemented on the radiators. Those are now there. But the inside is, as I expected, to be red. Are people still in chat? Are you still all there, or did we lose you? My character, oh good. I'm sorry, I was afraid that with the memory error, maybe it was my memory error. Maybe it wasn't really the computer at all. Maybe it was my brain. That's what I'm going to say. It was my brain projecting into the computer. Not enough memory to load this page. I want to use that line, but I probably won't remember it because there's not enough memory to load that page. Okay, this isn't going to make make it disappear. If I wanted that to disappear, I would fill it in with some filler and then sand it down so that that tab wouldn't ever show. But that's just too much. Too much impossible stuff for me to pull off. So I'm just going to paint it over. When the engine is in place, that will be very difficult to see. At least that's my hope. It's interesting. This one protrudes further into the compartment than the other one. They're supposed to be the same. I'll wait for that paint to dry. And then I will install the engine. It's just trying to get things done on the Savoia as well. So it looks like this is all base coated. What I've been able to do is get the base coat on all of this. The next steps are to start doing some shading and washing. And there's a lot of that to be done. I'm going to be using a brown wash. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, you can barely see it. But I totally forgot about this. It's little orc ears. Little orc ears are sticking out of the hair. And they need to be painted green. Oh. Okay, I need to do that, and I hope this is one of those things where I forgot about it, and it needs to be done because they're printed in. They're pretty obvious. I'm going to touch little dots of green paint on them and probably mess up the hair. So just like in this stream, okay, where it's just one, oh no, oh oops, that kind of thing that happens over and over again. It's a regular feature of this painting stream, is stuff like that keeps happening. In our Dungeons and Dragons show, a regular feature of my character is rolling threes. Seriously, I rolled. That's how I almost died in combat. When we were fighting some gnolls early on when we were level 2 characters, is I just kept rolling threes. It became an expectation. If I didn't roll a 3, the DM was wondering if I was cheating. I think I remember this correctly. I broke my streak of 3s by rolling a 1. The DM had a lot of fun narrating the manner in which I failed to hit with my sword. It basically became that I theatrically waved my sword around, just wishing in the air, just wishing, swishing it around, very theatrical, constantly missing, but making a great show of it. I mean, it just became a high point of that particular episode. Was how my character constantly had misses followed by eventually a critical miss. I think I only hurt myself a little bit. Mostly from a muscle pull. I think I ended up suffering a muscle pull from waving my sword around so ineffectively but dramatically. So here I am trying to do this, and what's happening is that there's so little paint on the brush that it's pretty much just drying. It's pretty much just a little dot of paint pretty much just drying on the tip of the brush. So when this shows up on screen, I'm not sure that it will be possible to recognize these as the tips of little orc ears, or whether it's just like going to look like a little flaw in the painting of the hair. It's probably going to end up doing more harm than good in the long run. But there it is. I painted them. Hi, Who. Oh, yeah. Yes, we do a show. It streams with the live chat on Twitch on Sundays, but it's all on YouTube. Well, I hope we're the people you're thinking about. Our D&D show is amazing. It's been going on for well over a year. Who, you came on just in time to make that contact, that communication. But you should check it out. Even if we're not the people you're thinking about, we should become the people you're thinking about, because our D&D show is amazing. And I'm glad you joined in just at the right time, Who, to post that link and get somebody involved. What I need to do is make a flip for Who. This has been a regular feature of the show, but I only do it when someone asks. I almost knocked something over. Let us flip. I haven't flipped this one in a while. What I flip are tiny little pieces of wood. Most of them are pieces of a paint stir stick. No, it's not clickable. Can you try again, Who? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Got the flips in. So I've got multiple washes to put on here. I've got a blue wash to put on the shirt, a green wash to put on the skin, a brown wash to put on the hair, an umber wash for that, another fire wash, smoky ink for the stick. Just a lot of it. I'm going to start. Thanks, Who. I appreciate that. I'm going to be using pretty much every bit of wash that I've got. So I'm going to just get them all out here. I'm going to put them all out so that they're going to be in the way and making a mess. I need the umber. Blue, green, brown, umber, smoky ink, and then for the orb I'm going to be putting a pearlescent paint on it to make it glittery. I'm going to start with the stick here. So what's supposed to happen now is that this very nicely painted but kind of flat looking character is supposed to look like alive, just due to the shading and the stuff. Anyway, it's supposed to look better. This is supposed to make it look better. I know that this will. Okay. This will, in fact, I know for a fact, this will make it look better. This is the wash that goes on this color brown, and it gives it an amazing transformation. And makes it look, instead of like dull, dead brown color, it makes it look like a live, beautiful wood thing. And I need to put my head magnifier back on even while I'm doing this, because I need to get it up to but not over. Yeah, you can see the before and the after here. The part that's washed versus the part that's not. This is the color combination we use on our dungeon tiles, the ones that represent wood. And so we use that lighter kind of bland base coat, and then apply this smoky ink wash, which has, it's kind of dark, but it has a little bit of red in it. It really makes it look like, it just looks good. I want to catch some of the high points and just, make it look a little bit less than totally uniform. So kind of shade it a little bit. There, I think that'll look okay. Cleaning this. Cleaning the washout is sometimes a challenge. It builds up in the brush. Yeah. How did I get green in there? So what I've managed to do is I now have two dozen. Oh, great. I have 24 paint containers out here when I should have like one. Just the one I should be working on. Yep. So maybe over the weekend, or it might even be next week, Monday or something, I need to, well, when I'm done with this guy, I need to put away all of the paints that are associated with it. So Dyson Dungeons, as Project Amber Rose is about to find out, is an amazing Dungeons and Dragons show that has been going on for over a year. Our DM is immensely talented. Yeah, this is... and as characters, it's a show, not just a game, it's a show. So we are all very entertaining. Who plays a Tabaxi Bard, who is very loud, but great fun, and does predictably unpredictable things. So you could see that the umber wash on the leather bindings, the wash is doing what it's supposed to do, which is the dark bits are puddling up in the low areas, and bringing a lot of highlights to the binding. Yeah, so our show is really, really very good, and this stream is just a spin-off because we make our own dungeon tiles and minifigs like this one. This guy is going to show up in the show, as are the other three. They're all part of an allied mercenary group. So at some point in the not too terribly distant future, is actually going to show up. I'm going to do the hair now. This is also a brown tone wash. And I'm going to try to get it in there so that instead of just being this monochrome kind of muddy blonde color, the strands of the hair are highlighted. And the idea here is like it was with the bindings on the magic shaft thing here, is that the wash will settle into the low spots like that. See how that happened? Thereby emphasizing the contours of the hair. So now it looks more like hair than it did before. If I wanted to get really fancy, I would dry brush some highlights back onto it. But I'm probably not going to do that because I'm not that fancy. Not that fancy of a painter. All right, so that looks better. Then I will do the skin. And what I've got is a green wash. You're not going to see very much of this. You shouldn't see much of this color, but it should just give a little bit of variation. Again, just shading. This is supposed to just be some shading, mainly on the hands, so that the fingers are more visible, and on the shoulders. I'm not going to mess with the face very much. In fact, I'm going to use a much smaller brush here. So it's supposed to be picking up the indentations between the fingers so that the fingers are more visible, and the ripples, the muscles. That's the intent anyway. Yeah, that's working. Yeah, it's kind of working well enough. It's kind of a subtle shading effect, but it's doing the thing it's supposed to do, which is making the lower areas darker so that the lighter areas above it are that. This is pretty good. I'm actually going to be, it looks like I'm going to be able to finish this today. You know, barring any disaster. So far there hasn't been one. You know, what's left is the shirt. And what I'll be doing with the shirt is using a blue-gray wash. This will be not very visible. I don't think you'll be able to see very much of this, but again, what I'm hoping to do is like pick up the texture of the fabric. Oh, I keep forgetting the base. Okay, the base needs to be painted, and that's a pretty easy, straightforward thing to do. You need to pick a color. I think I'm just going to paint them gray with kind of a dark gray wash. The alternative is to paint it brown with kind of a brown wash. I mean, not terribly much. But since this is almost done, I might as well do that. I might as well finish it that way. I'm mainly concerned about the shirt here. I'm not... See what I mean? I just want it to puddle up in the low areas. It's not going to do terribly much to the pants. And I'll put some on there anyway. So, I don't know if there's such a thing as a before and after on something like this. I suppose, you know, if this were on YouTube and someone wanted to edit it, you could see a before and after the wash was applied and make your own decision about whether it made a difference or not. I think it does. I think it. Yeah, I think he came out pretty well. I do need to then paint the base because that's what makes it finished. Oh, I've got one more thing to do. I need to put some sort of pearlescent on the shiny thing on the orb to make it shiny. These pearlescent paints are highly viscous. They're jelly-like. Okay. And we've got pearl silver and carbon black. What's this one? Ooh, pearl neon purple. Yeah, I think that. I'm going to try that. They're very translucent. They don't cover. I mean, not really at all. They're just more of a wash. But I think that this will make it look fancy shiny. It's next to impossible to just get a little bit of this. Okay, it comes out as a blop. It just, like I said, it's gel-like. So when I try to squeeze out a little bit, I sort of succeeded there. So it would just splash somewhere. I don't know where. Yeah, let's pearlescent this orb here. Oh yeah, that's the purple glow. When the light catches it. It's a little streaky, even better. A little streakiness is even better. There, what do you think? Ah, okay. You mean with your character, as it develops, to be able to summon minions later? Have you gotten a response? I mean, it makes sense that your character would be able to do that. Let's blot it up a little too much here. Okay, well, that's enough. Let's keep messing with that. It'll just make it messy. Okay, for the base, I'm just going to use, since I've got everything out here, what a mess. It's going to take me the better part of 10 minutes to put all this stuff away. But I probably should. Okay, well, I think this came out okay. The wash worked on it. I just need to paint the base. I'm going to paint the base neutral gray, and then put a blot. I'm just going to blot some black wash on it, or dark gray wash on it, so that it doesn't look just so flat. And I'm going to use the this little brush to paint around the feet, and then this larger brush to fill in the rest of it. let that dry. And put some wash on it and be done with it. And then you're going to get to watch me put stuff away. Seriously, it's just such a mess here. I do need to put some of these things away even during the stream. What's happening with the stream, who? Am I making noise? Am I making like buzzing sounds or something? I'm not sure what's happening. I can't hear anything other than me talking, so I don't know. I think the stream, our DM has kind of a love-hate relationship with this stream. It used to be. Oh, yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the noise cancellation. Down here in this not workshop, okay, this not studio, this workbench in the basement that I've got. There's a furnace running. There's a humidifier. The water from the humidifier goes into a sump, and then the sump pump whirs, makes a really loud whirring noise. When it pumps the water. When this house was built, they didn't put a floor drain in the basement next to the furnace, because there was no such thing as a humidifier, apparently then, or at least not in this area. And so it has to go all the way over, probably like 20-some feet, to another room where there is a floor drain. It wasn't designed to be a floor drain. It was actually designed to be a shower drain. But thankfully, the shower was never installed, so there's a floor drain for the humidifier runoff. Do I need to, I don't know, how much more should I talk about? Oh, not too bad. Okay. You probably didn't hear the furnace kick in. What you probably heard was the sump pump, because that's actually really very loud buzzing noise when it goes off. And you probably heard that. And then there's people walking around upstairs, so there's a lot of clomping going on. And then the dogs start barking, which they haven't done today. They've been really, really quiet. But they had a very busy day yesterday. They got to run around in the snow for probably a good 20 minutes. And then we had some company over, and they got to visit, and they didn't go to sleep until late. But they're being really quiet this morning, which is a good thing, because our DM is running around being annoyed. But yeah, the noise canceling thing on this microphone does a huge job. I mean, it gets pretty well tested because of all the noise down here in the basement. The furnace itself is very quiet, but I'm sure who heard was the sump pump, which is very, very much not quiet. Okay, well there. Now this paint will dry really pretty quickly. It doesn't take terribly long. I'll be able to put the wash on that yet this street. Oh my. Paint buildup on the inside, on the cap here. There we go. I'm going to be a really good guy and put that away right away. While I'm waiting for that to dry, there, that was the sump pump. That's probably what you heard. Is that right now? That's what's running, because that can get pretty loud when it does. I'm up here putting paints away, and I should show you in the thing into which I'm putting them, but I won't, because that would involve asking the director to move the camera again, and we know how well that goes. Okay, yeah, I'm getting near the end of the stream. I am not getting around to the gnome, but I'm going to show you the gnome and give you an idea of how I'm planning to paint it. This is how Bob Ross does it, cleaning a brush. I don't think that makes a difference, is swishing it back and forth like that really fast. But he just does, and the paint all comes off in whatever kind of solvent he's got sitting there by his desk. The strings and the puppeteering are definitely part of it. The spiders, yeah, the spiders would come in later, right? As part of the summoning of minions. Assuming the DM says that that's going to be okay. Wow, okay, this has got a lot of gray paint in it that's not coming out. Well, that's sort of clean. The last bit to do on this is to put a dark gray wash on the base. I got a little unevenness on the base on the boot. I probably should. Yeah, I'll fix that with the wash. I want to show you some. Oh, where did it go? Oh, never mind. I want to show you our dungeon tiles. I haven't done that yet this stream. This is how the stream got started. The stream got started because we print our dungeon tiles on 3D printers back there. We have some new ones, some much better ones now that are upgraded from the ones we bought a few years ago. But these get printed, 3D printed, and then they're primed and base coated and washed. This is like the wooden ones. You might recognize this from like the shaft on the guy I just made. Is that it's painted that brown color and then washed in that smoky ink, and then the stucco is painted on, and then the same thing with this, they're painted gray, and then the highlight bricks are painted on. But the really cool part is that on the bottom here are ball magnets in the holes, and they stick to each other, so ta-da, one can reconfigure this really easily. They come apart and go together. It's really cool. We've got corners, inside corners. Doors that operate. Cauldrons with flames. Oh. So you actually have a player who's arachnophobic, and you might be dealing with spider summoning. That's pretty, yeah. You definitely need to figure that out, because you don't want it. Oh, that could be interesting. Maybe not interesting in a good way either. Okay, this guy's pretty much done. I can actually put the black wash on now, I don't mind if the paint is a little bit wet, because I want it to look kind of globby. I want it to look blobby. So when I put the wash on, I'm not spreading it on, I'm just blobbing it on. And if it mixes in with the paint a little bit, it actually makes it works better. But this is okay. I'm going to actually finish this. It looks like I might be finishing this now. I don't have stuff on my fingers. Oh, I do. I got some of the purple. Okay. I was afraid I got through the entire stream without getting stuff on my hands, but I got some of the violet pearlescent paint on my fingers. So there. Okay, this is just getting blotched on, because I want it to look blotchy. And the base isn't anything in particular. It's not gravel or dirt or anything. It's just, it's holding up the figure, so there's a stand. And I want it to look, just slightly textured. And then, yeah, this figure will be done. Kind of weird getting something done. Haven't gotten anything done on this stream in a long, long time. I'm going to leave the bubbles. Then they'll look like little pebbles or something. Ta-da! Okay, what needs to be done now is, I'm kind of tempted to finish the engine, install the engine on the Savoia. I'm not going to do that today. It's too late in the stream, and even though it is a pretty low risk thing, yeah, who hadn't caught up on your character and how your character Arachna is a toy maker and inherited a toy shop from their grandfather. So I could install the engine and finish the engine compartment, but I'm going to wait until Monday. As I get near the end of the stream, even though it's a low-risk thing, meaning that it's unlikely that I could break anything, I'm not going to be scraping stuff or dealing with large amounts of adhesive that could mar the paint or anything. It's just, sometimes just things can go wrong in ways that are unanticipated. But the orc spellcaster is now finished, and I think came out okay. The subtle shading with the wash on the shirt and the pants. The hair looks decent. I mean, kind of. The shaft looks good. I like the purple at the end. Looks better on screen when it's on screen. So this is finished, and what I'm going to be working on next is this gnome cleric. This gnome cleric is going to have red hair and an outfit in various shades of kind of red and orange. The flame, the fireball, I can paint, yellow with red highlights. I'm not sure what to do with the shield. There's no embossing on the shield. So I might just paint like a stripe across it or something. Something fairly easy to do that I can't mess up. Maybe just a, I know, I'm going to paint like a sigil. Just a fake sigil on it. That should work. I don't have any, oh, that's what I was going to do. There it is. I want to see what this does. I'm going to test this. I haven't used these speed paints in a long time, but I want to see the color and see if this could work for the hair. If it does, the hair will be one of the last things to paint because I can't paint over this stuff. It dissolves even in the acrylic. I discovered that when I tried to do some touch-up once over it, and it didn't work. And I can't highlight it either. But I want to see what color red this turns out to be and see if it's the color I want to use maybe for the hair of the gnome. So the rest of this stream is going to be a little bit boring. I'm going to be putting paints away so that they're not just everywhere and in the way. And finding colors for this, I'm gonna like with the like I should just leave the orc on screen. Why not? Like with the orc, I don't want to get too many colors on it. Oh yeah, that's going to be good. I'm going to use the speed paint on the hair. That's just the right fiery shade of fiery hair that I want. All right. So here, I'm going to do something on, yeah, this brush isn't very good. I just pulled it apart. I'm going to get started on the gnome by painting yellow on the flame. I'm just going to use this paint. It's just right here. I don't have to go searching. This is yellow. The base coat on the flame, for some reason this mage is holding a flame, looks like a fireball. Nice. Not a mage. Duh. Cleric. I could paint that like a blue flame, right? White and blue. That would be kind of fun, but that's not an ice ball. It's just definitely a flame. This will probably need 2 coats, and so why not? Why not start now? There, I can, like I said, orc, gnome, maybe elf. The maybe elf is not happening. But the orc and the gnome are, because I'm starting to put some paint on the gnome, so there. Take that, skeptics. I have no idea I can't really see very well at the moment, so I can't tell where the flame ends and the hand starts, but it doesn't matter because I'll be painting the hand a different color later. Oh, this is actually covering pretty well. How about that? This will work. So the flame will have, I'm probably going to do multiple colors. I'll do a little orange highlighting and some red. It'll look very fancy flamey. I'll use the speed paint on the hair, so I'll need to be careful not to get any other color on it. And I'm pulling my color chart out. I don't have any red wash. It'd be nice if I did. I suppose I could order some, if I could find some. So what I may end up having to do is like a little bit of little touches of brown or highlight. What I may end up having to do is just highlight with a lighter color. She has a lot of detail. There's like an over armor and an under armor and some boots. I'm going to pick 3 colors for her outfit. And I promised that one of them would be pink. So I need to find some things that work with pink. You might ask, go ahead and ask, why not? You might ask, why these non-traditional colors? You know, why is the orc dressed like that? Why is the gnome cleric going to be in like pink and amaranth, you know, instead of like normal colors? Well, the answer to that is because this particular group of affiliated mercenaries, they're also members of the Company of Blades, are the divorcees. They're all divorced for reasons, backstory reasons. We have not asked for their tragic backstories yet. That could take up an entire streaming episode. We could avoid contact for yet another streaming episode by meeting up with the divorcees and asking them each to tell their tragic backstories. And then the DM would have to be doing all of the work in that session, and we could just sit and listen and make snarky comments about it. That's almost a plan. Huh. It's really tempting. So there's going to be pink in this outfit. Now I need to put some of these away though. There's too many colors out here, making too much of a mess. So as I'm talking, and I'm just chatting away here. Hear me chatting. I really need another empty slot. Are the blues? Where are the blues? Those are all purple and blue. This one has to not be there. So I'm still on camera, huh? How about that? Got these black, these spots for black here. There's some spots for black. Metallic. Gee, I can go there. I've almost got these put away. It's coming along. This is an extra black. I'm going to put that down there. Ta-da! Success! I'm going to show this. Look, I've only got one thing out, and that's the speed paint I'm going to use for her hair later. I need 2 other colors to go with pink for her outfit, and they're not green. No, they are. I'll be using orange fire for the fire, and probably bloody red. Orange fire and bloody red. Pink. I think this amaranth will look pretty good. Let's see, maybe a purplish. Pink goes with purple, doesn't it? No, not purple. Sorry, I'm just wasting some time here while I'm... Okay, I'm going to use Orange Fire and Bloody Red for the flame. A tiny little bit of that there, but for her outfit, pink. Amaranth is kind of orangey. I think this vermilion. With an orange? I don't want to use yellows, but maybe there's like an orange color. This clear orange isn't too bad. What I really need is maybe I won't do too many colors. I could do pink, and either dark vermilion or amaranth. Amaranth is kind of orangey. I think the vermilion. And then maybe just metallic. I might just go with those two colors, I think. Vermilion. Let me see if I can find it here amongst the reds. Dark vermilion, there. That. And then these two colors on the little bit of a flame, but these, there. Those are the two colors I'm going to use. I just have to find out under magnification where they might go. And maybe, I might need an accent color. I'll just pick something else that looks like it might work. Kind of like I did with the emerald on this guy. Okay, you can see it on the belt and on the piping around the collar. Just a little bit of an accent color. But I think what I can do is if I use the pink and the dark vermilion, I can use something like the amaranth red, which has a little orange in it, as a wash, not as a wash, but as a dry brush. Dry brush over the vermilion to just add some highlights to it. So there. That's I've got a plan now for the gnome cleric. This is a metallic mace, a magic mace. I might make her boots just the dark red. I think I've got a glossy red. I could just make them a glossy red. Why not? Shiny boots. And then the shield, I might just paint the shield pink. Yeah, I might do that. And then try to do an edge, maybe a bronze or brass edge, and then a sigil. Paint a sigil on it, yellow or something, I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Well, I tried to base coat the flame, and it's really good I didn't try to do anything else during the stream today, because I actually failed in base coating the flame. I missed a huge spot in the back here. That was an impressive failure. And I'm getting paint on other things. So as I have said on every stream, when it gets to be this time, just don't try to do anything. It is not going to work. I'll miss places. I'll get paint where I don't want it. I'll not get paint where I do want it. There. But at least I got some paint all over places where I didn't want it on the gnome. Yeah, well, I can do that. I just accidentally saw what I can do. You just see where there's the ridges here? Is I can paint a darker color underneath and then dry brush. Oh, yeah. And just dry brush the detail over it. This will be an interesting thing. See how I can make it look, you know, a non-traditionally clothed cleric. I want to thank people who joined in chat today. I really appreciate it. I will be back on Monday. Next week could be a little bit ragged. I had talked about dog sitting the last 2 weeks. It didn't happen because of various and sundry things that got in the way of other people's travel, but I will definitely be dog sitting next week, which means that depending on how they do their bathroom behavior in the morning, and let's be real blunt about that, I might have to start a little later, or I might have to interrupt to take care of some things during the stream. You know, it's a 3-hour thing. Sometimes they behave for 3 hours, sometimes they don't. So next week will be a little bit off and on, but what I will be doing is on Monday, I will finish. I'll just lift this up. On Monday, I will finish the installation of the engine, putting these two parts on, and then this will go in the done box of the Savoia, and we'll be spending the rest of the week working on these minifigs because we need them for the show. And we'll probably be recording the episode with these minifigs in it like 2 weeks from today. And so I have pretty much just next week and the next Monday maybe to finish these things. And it takes me, yeah, I should just barely be able to pull that off. But yeah, other than putting together the there, it's hidden behind our logo. Other than putting together the Savoia engine compartment and getting that into the done box, I should pretty much just be working on these the next 2 weeks. Yeah, that's it. Well, look, I used up a lot of colors. That's why they were all out here. I don't have anything much more to say other than that the Orc Divorcee spellcaster came out, I'd say, okay. Looks pretty okay. Let's celebrate by seeing if I can pull it up off of the sticky tack without hurting anything. Huh. Like anything else, that should have been like the easiest thing in the world, but no, it wasn't. Ta-da. I'll just let it stand here on its own. You know, there. So that's done. The gnome cleric is next, and I'll also be working on the elf archer. The elf archer probably, maybe I'll like go back and forth between the gnome and the elf starting on Monday. Just as paint is drying on one, I can work on the other. And after all of that, while that's going on, I've got me. I have my giant desktop. You can see how much larger this is. This is the size of a typical minifig. Okay. For Christmas, they printed for me a enlarged version of my D&D character. And so I've got this to paint as well. And just, you know, just to keep saying I've got things to paint, I have the Porco Rosso minifig, and I haven't started painting yet. So I've got plenty of stuff to do with the next couple of weeks without going back to the structural components of the Savoia. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. I really appreciate people in chat. It was a really nice discussion about how to handle certain things as a DM. Thank you, Hu and Aman, for joining in on that. I really appreciated that, and I look forward to hearing more from everybody next week about how that's all going. So thanks again, and be back on Monday at more or less 10, assuming everything goes okay with the dog watching stint, and I'll continue working on these minifigs and a little bit on the Savoia. Take care. Bye.